If you're anything like me on FIFA career mode, sometimes you need to do an absolutely bizarre challenge just to have any fun with the game. In this video, I've come up with 6 of my favourite ones that I've either done in the past or wanted to do in the past, put them all together, and I'm going to be telling you exactly how to do them on FIFA 22. I don't want to waste any time, so we're going to get straight into this, and the first one is the hard mode Youth Academy only challenge. If you don't like the sound of this, feel free to skip along the bottom using the chapters, but it is my favourite in the entire video. Basically what you need to do is create a team, 0.5 stars in League 2, but give yourself a £10 million budget boost. You might be thinking this is going to make it really easy, £10 million budget in League 2, but of course Youth Academy only players, you can't really sign anyone. What you're going to be doing is using this to release as many of your better players as possible. You're also going to want to buy the best youth scouts that only have 1 star in the judgment stat, although you can get higher if you want, but you'll need this to be low for the next rule, which is that you can only sign players with a Youth Academy value of less than £150,000. Each promotion, you're going to want to increase this by £50,000, so if you get promoted to the championships, that's 2 promotions, it'll go from £150,000 to £250,000, and if you get to the Premier League, £300,000, which is a pretty big amount, to be honest, for Youth Academy players. If you're finding it too hard, you can also sign players using the same values. So if you want to sign a real player in League 2, you have to make sure they're worth less than £150,000. But never sign a free agent just because their values are a bit messed up. For every player in the formation you use, you're also going to want to keep 2 first team players and 1 Youth Academy only player. So if you've got 4-1-4-1, you're going to have 2 central defensive midfielders in your first team and 1 in your Youth Academy at all times. If you sign a player and you've already got all of these 3 slots filled, then you're going to have to release one of them. So if you find an even better central defensive midfielder than one in your first team, you'll release the first team one, promote the Youth Academy already existing one, and then sign the 3rd Youth Academy player that you've just found, just to make sure you've always got 3 and you're always going to have to release someone if you want to get a new player from the Youth Academy scouting. Any bids that are over 50% of the player's value also should be accepted. For example, if the player is worth £1 million, then you have to accept any bids over £1.5 million. This makes getting promoted really hard, it makes it really rewarding if you do manage it, it gets you more attached to your players, and honestly it makes your save last a bit longer and in my opinion be more fun. The second weird save that I've come up with is to make a team of players who are the only person of their nationality on FIFA. So this includes some really small and rare nations, but it also includes some quite well-known ones. Some of the players from these nationalities are actually pretty good. For example, Bermuda has Naki Wells in the championship, who's a 70 rated striker. So if you're starting off lower than the championship, you've probably got a player who's going to dominate the league. I've got a full list of all the nations on screen right now, but it's a great chance to use some players you've never heard of before, use some of these nations that you've probably never heard of as well, and just make a really unique squad of these like unicorn players. Use some of these players who are the best their nation has to offer, and if you're on PC, it's also a good chance to use the youth scouting anywhere to try and find them a compatriot from each nation, see if you can build a Champions League winning team from these bizarre nationalities. The third idea on this video is to try and complete the Rainbow Challenge, which is something I've totally made up. There's no rules, it's just try and manage a team that plays in red, orange, yellow, green, blue and purple. We haven't got indigo and violet because they're both basically the same colour anyway, and purple's more of a generic team. But really, it's a good way to use some of these teams you probably wouldn't have tried, like Austria Vienna or Anderlecht for purple, or you've got Norwich for yellow, teams that people might ignore in different leagues. It forces you to move team at least 6 times, but it's got a bit more freedom than something like the Pentagon Challenge because you can probably complete it by going from Germany to England to Spain to Italy to France. You know, these big nationalities, you can use massive teams as well because most of them will be in one of these colours. As I said, it's a good way to do the Pentagon Challenge. If you want to do this one at the same time, it maybe gives you a bit more of a restriction too, and I think that would be a little bit more fun. You could make it easier if you include home and away kits, but I don't think you'll really need to do that just because of the amount of colours that are in different nationalities and different leagues. If you do decide to do this challenge, then please do take screenshots of your kits and send them to me on Discord because I'd love to see which teams you pick for which colour. So this next one is a save I've actually already done on FIFA 22 and it was really fun. Create a club in the lowest division of the nationality that you want to pick. Give yourself 10 million, so similar to the first one in this video, but instead of signing a Youth Academy, we're going to try and sign a full squad of real players and release all of the fake ones. I did it with Deportivo in Spain. I signed a couple of 70 rated players, realised that they were a bit too expensive, and then had to fill out the rest of my squad with 60 to 65 rated players on the transfer list, which gave me a good chance to use some of these players I'd never heard of before, finding some unique sets of skills, loaning in players from bizarre nationalities in different leagues, and I had a really poor squad. But with those couple of 70s, I had some star players that I could rely on in the second division of Spain. It was really fun to work within this limit, and in my opinion, real players are a bit more fun than the fake ones to use. By giving yourself £10 million, you do give yourself a couple of different ways you can do this. You can probably sign someone around 77 rated for about £8 million, but then you've got to get 10 players for £2 million, which is going to be very difficult unless you want to rely on a bunch of 50s. So you could have a team of 10 50 rated players, and then 177. Maybe that's the way you'll go. Or maybe you'll do what I did, try and sign a bunch of 65 to 70 rated players and see if you can make a team out of this bizarre transfer window strategy of signing 11 new players, all who are going to be first team regulars. I think it meshes well with Create a Club, but of course you can do this without Create a Club as well, but you'll already be starting off with real players, so it's a little bit more tough to keep track of who was already there. If you're one of the people like me who's tried to play player career mode and then realised that the AI is just a bit silly either with team building or with how they play, then this is probably the idea for you. What you're going to do is lock controls to one area of the pitch for your whole save. So maybe you lock controls to only controlling the defence, the midfield or your attack. It makes it harder to dominate because you're either relying on the AI to finish chances or stop them happening. It's more similar to player career mode, but of course you're in charge of the selections, you're in charge of the transfers, and it's good for getting to know the limitations of your players. You really do get an in-depth feel of who can do what. If you're a skiller and you're playing as midfielders, maybe you'll go for really skillful midfield and neglect the defence. If you're locked onto your attackers for the whole game, maybe when you're in charge of your transfers, you'll focus on getting really good defensive players so that the AI can hold their own while you do all the attacking with your 3 or 2 up front. I do like the idea of this. It's like a hybrid between manager and player career mode, but it gives you a bit more freedom where you can control 3 or 4 players depending on which area of the pitch you want to take over. If you want to change every match, maybe that's another good idea to do it like that. But personally, I would go for lock it for the entire save and just see how far you can get. And you'll be, of course, as I said, relying on the AI to either defend or attack for you, which is never optimal at all. And the final save idea on this video is going to be create a 4-tier Super League with the 92 best teams on the game. If you start off with the bottom tier with an average team, you're going to have a really hard challenge, but the other leagues do actually develop. So teams like Hertha or Lyon, if they get left in the German and French leagues, will get really good transfer budgets and become European giants if you can qualify to play them in Europe. They'll be constantly winning the prize money for winning the Bundesliga and the French league, and of course it'll be happening in the Italian and Spanish leagues as well. So you'll get these really minor teams getting these massive transfer budgets and being able to dominate in Europe. It's pretty cool because you'll get not only your 92 good teams, but the other ones will develop much better than normal too. You've got more chance of big name players moving to different teams when they're in the same league as well. It might not be how it works in real life, but it means some teams on FIFA will get super squads. For example, if you've got Manchester United and PSG both in the first division, as you should do, then someone like Ronaldo might go to PSG. All of a sudden, you draw them in the FA Cup with your 3-star team, and you're playing against Messi, Neymar, Ronaldo, and Mbappe, which is going to be a very, very tough challenge no matter how good you are at the game. If you do a Super League like this, let me know who you pick in each division, because it'd be cool to see where you rank different teams, and I really do like reading that kind of thing. But anyway, that's every weird save idea that I've come up with in the past or tried to do on old FIFAs, and hopefully you liked at least one of them in this video. Let me know which ones you picked in the comments on Discord or on Twitter, and of course subscribe if you want to see more videos like this or other FIFA 22 career mode content. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you very, very soon for more FIFA videos on the Geografifa channel. Thank you and goodbye.